Alan, I suppose it's make or break time now for you, really.
Certainly is. It's a critical point in the championship. Obviously, in Suzuka, we would have liked to get more of a result than the third position that we did get. But we seem to be getting more competitive, and in race conditions we're pretty strong, especially in the last two. So I hope to get a good result out of this weekend.
Have you got any chance in the championship now?
Well, we've got a mathematical chance, and so therefore you just keep on trying, but realistically it will be very, very difficult. The only way we can really do it is try and win as many races as possible, and that's what we're going to try and do.
Tell us about Suzuka. You weren't very happy.
No, I certainly wasn't. Basically, it was probably the most competitive we'd been for quite a little while, and I was able to fight with the Mercedes. We were in good position and got into second place right behind Bernd Schneider, but Ricardo Sonta, immediately after I overtook him, basically made a mistake and drove into the back of me. And the annoying thing was, it was the second time that it's happened, because it happened in the first round in Oschersleben. But that effectively ruined not just my race, but his race, because we were already 3 laps down after only about 30 minutes of the event.
Is Donington a circuit where you think you could get your own back? Not in the pushing people off a track sense, but in beating them?
Well, certainly I think it's not Porsche's favourite circuit, there's no question, because it has got 3 tight corners, and historically we've not been so good on those type of places. However, it does have a fast section, and the weather's pretty inclement, so hopefully that'll play into our hands a little bit more than theirs.
We'll see how Alan McNish gets on later this afternoon. Before that, though, let's concentrate on football. The prize for that competition was a spin around Donington with Le Mans winner Alan McNish. And our lucky winner is Anna Fuller from Hampshire. She was fairly nervous, but I think she really enjoyed herself in the end. Now, if you were one of those that entered but didn't win, then this is what you missed. Let's go on a lap now with Alan McNish of Donington Park, just as the drivers will face this afternoon.
So now we're coming down to the first corner, Redgate, at 200 kilometres per hour, braking down 2 gears. Turning in, it's quite a tricky corner, a late apex. Getting the power down, you're using all the road and exit, but you've got to be smooth down here. This is a fast, difficult trainer curve. I'm in 4th gear, I'm doing 200 kilometres per hour, just missing the left-hand cone, and then down into the old hairpin, 3rd gear right-hander. Just using the curve and exit, up into 4th. It's all sweeping and turning here, and you've got to be line critical, down to the millimetre. This is a very tricky corner, it's adverse camber, and you've got to be smooth and clean on exit again, because we're now coming up to the blind coppice. You just pop over the top, you turn it in, and you get back on the power. 3rd gear, sliding it out. The rear end of the car mates out of here, but you've got the big long straight underneath the Dunlop Bridge to come. A very, very important place to pass. Before hard on the brake, down 2 gears into the chicane. And here you just touch the left one, bump over the curb, bump over the right curb, put the power down. And then you're down to the Melbourne hairpin. This is another very good opportunity to pass, but the brakes have got to be good. You've got to be late, you've got to be brave. We're into it a little bit late, little deep on the brakes. I'll try that line in the race though, trying to pass the Mercedes. We've got 1 corner to go. It's a left-hander, again it's blind, adverse camber, 2nd gear. Turn it in, keep it in, over the curb, next to the cone, power out, the back comes out, use the curb and exit. That'll be a line in a lap that I'll try and recreate in qualifying, hopefully it'll be pole.
Thanks to Alan for showing us around, and as ever here at Donington, he's brought his fan club. He's supported by 2 of the most loyal fans in motor racing. Kerry and Ken Hutchison from Basingstoke in Hampshire have been following McNish since he first raced, and they're totally devoted to the Scotsman.
As far as I'm concerned, I think he's the most talented driver out there. I think that it's a shame that he never got his opportunity in Formula 1. He's a great driver, a huge natural talent, and he's a hell of a nice guy. And we've got to know him over the years that we've been following him. And as I say, he's a first-class guy.
And what do your friends think about following him everywhere? Go on, Kerry.
They think we're mad. Having said that, there's about another 6 people coming today, so they're getting into it as well. But yeah, they do think we're completely mad.
So plenty of support for Alan here at Donington. Find out if he gives the fans something to cheer after the break. Welcome back to Donington. As you can see, Paynos, Porsche, Mercedes and the rest are almost ready to roll. Before we have that race for you though, front row, Mercedes every time this season have achieved pole position. But things are being done to try to even the series up a bit. Simon Taylor is with me to to explain what they are. The FIA have made changes this time, Simon.
Well, they have. They've levied a weight penalty of 50 kilograms on the 2 silver Mercedes and on the 2 Works Porsches. 50 kilos, that's about the weight of a tank full of fuel. It's not going to make a lot of difference, but it'll certainly help the Paynos. And as you can see, the Paynos has qualified 3rd quickest ahead of the Porsches. But I think the great leveller here could be the weather. If it rains at any time during the race, then that's what the Porsches would like to see. I know that Alan McNish is certainly doing a rain dance at the moment as the sun comes out onto the grid.
OK, thanks, Simon. We'll see what the afternoon holds as it unfolds, of course. The man who put the Mercedes on the front row and in pole position was the young Brazilian Ricardo Zonta.
Yes, he's got his eyes on Formula One for next year, but his task this season is to beat Schneider and Webber to the driver's title. Alan McNish reckoned he could put all his local knowledge to good use here and beat the Mercedes to pole position in the GT1 Porsche. Watched by his parents and by co-driver Yannick Dalmas, Alan gave his all, but he couldn't get within a second of the silver arrows. So it's Zonta's first pole, and Schneider joins him on the front row to make a silver barrier ahead of Alan McNish.
Alan, you're taking the start. You've got your work cut out today, though.
Certainly it looks like that. In qualifying, the Mercedes was very good. We were a bit better in the warm-up this morning. The car was better, and we ended up 2nd fastest. But the problem is it's going to be a real battle with the Paynos being quick and the other Mercedes as well. The one thing that I'm hoping for is a bit of wet weather.
Overall, with that 50 kilograms, the Paynos hasn't got it, and they've been performing pretty well all season already.
Yeah, they have been, and they haven't got the 50 kilogram extra, and they've leapfrogged us. They're in 3rd position on the grid. David Brabham's a strong contender, and I expect it to be a bit of a fight into the first corner, to be honest.
And there is the Paynos with David Brabham ready to go.
David, you haven't got the 50 kilos extra on this car. How much difference will that make for you?
Well, it hasn't slowed these guys in front of us that much. But for sure in a race distance, it certainly helps us. How much, I don't know, but you know, we just have to concentrate on what we're doing, not what other people are doing, and hopefully get on the podium at the end of the race.
No weight penalty for Thomas Bascher's McLaren, which Jeff Lees has qualified a strong 7th.
Well, it's our best qualifying position this year. I'm really happy with the qualifying. The car went well, but as you know, it's a road-going sports car against these pretty well prototypes, you know. So I'm not expecting to win the race, but I'd love to finish in the first 5.
Here's the GT2 pole position, to the delight of a big turnout of Marcos supporters here. It's Koreuser who's ahead of the Carl Wendlinger Justin Bell Viper. Justin's the reigning GT2 champion, but the French Oreca team who run these Vipers have only given him occasional drives this year, but he will get an opportunity to use his local knowledge today. And they're now off on the rolling start lap. Zonta already weaving to warm up his tyres, and the Paynos and the McNish Porsche on row 2 behind those 2 silver Mercedes. There's the Donington track, 2.5 miles of sweeping curves, plus 3 very tight corners at the S's, at Melbourne Hairpin and at Goddard's. And the rain does seem to be holding off at the moment. Everybody's starting therefore on dry weather tyres. There the grid with the 2 Mercedes at the front. Then Bernard and McNish on row 2. Row 3 is Bouchou's V12 Mercedes and Altson in the 2nd Works Porsche. On row 4, Lees and Bartel's Porsche. Then it's Marcel Thiemann in the 2nd V12 Mercedes and Armin Hahne's Zakspeed Porsche. And then we get the leading GT2s, the Marcos and the Chrysler Viper. Always the GT2s having their own motor race behind the GT1s, but just as much kudos attaching to GT2. This could be the race when the Chrysler Vipers clinch the Manufacturers' Championship in GT2. They come now round for the rolling start, and the Mercedes are about to be split by the Porsche. McNish goes between the 2. A fantastic start by Alan McNish. Alan McNish leads. The other Porsche is up there with him in 2nd place. Both the Mercedes pushed down to 3rd and 4th places, and Schneider's wide. Schneider's on the grass, the rest of the field going by, but a fantastic start by both the Works Porsches. Alan McNish leads at Donington. Uwe Altson is in 2nd place, and the Mercedes are pushed down to 3rd place for Zonta and much further back for Schneider. A bit of a moment there for one of the green Zakspeed Porsches, which was also on the grass. He's recovered, but as they come through McLean's and sweeping down the dip and up the other side towards Copies, Porsche, Mercedes, and then Paynos. Alan McNish started third, Uwe Altsson started fifth, and they've both started magnificently, and McNish leads Altsson. Zonta is there in third place. David Brabham is in fourth place in the Paynos, and in the S's now, McNish leads Altsson, twitches as he gets the power on, then goes steeply downhill towards the tight, slow Melbourne hairpin, the tightest corner on the circuit. They're there already, but let's look at the start again. As the lights go green, McNish moves incredibly quickly, pushes his way between the two Mercedes. Uwe Altsson follows. Neither of the Mercedes were very quick on the power. Both the Porsches were incredibly quick on the power. Then as they go into this first corner, watch Schneider being pushed wide by one of the sliding green Porsches. It's actually Bartel's Zack-Speed car that pushed Schneider onto the grass. Schneider rejoined in 8th place, and off goes Jeff Lees now. Jeff Lees has gone off just beneath my commentary box by that final corner of the first lap here at Goddard's, and Jeff Lees is spinning round on the grass, rejoining as already McNish goes plunging down through the Craner curves on towards Starkey's Bridge. McNish and Altsson first and second, Zonta third in the Mercedes, Brabham fourth in the Paynos. Then it's Bouchou's blue V12 Mercedes, the fifth. The green Zack-Speed Porsche in sixth place is the car of Michael Bartels, and Schneider up in 8th place just behind Thiemann's Mercedes. A puff of smoke there from the Zack-Speed Porsche as he locks up a brake. The pressure on these two leading Porsches, because Zonta in third place is looking threatening. The Paynos is there as well, but Alan McNish really knows his way around the Donington circuit. He's looking very confident and very smooth as he comes out of the S's, plunges downhill once more to the Melbourne hairpin, leaves his braking as late as he dares, twitches the car right, and Altsson is the one who's under pressure. Altsson in second place, being pushed hard by Zonta now. Schneider's taken an extra place. Schneider goes past Thiemann to take 7th place now. The silver Mercedes passes the blue one, and I can't see any damage on that yellow mirrored silver Mercedes. That's Schneider's car, the number 1 works car. It went off on the first corner of the first lap, and we're seeing a replay. This is Jeff Lees getting it all wrong on the final corner of the first lap, just missed by one of the V12 Mercedes, gets his brakes on, stops the car on the grass, and he was able to turn it round and rejoin the race, but he's lost an awful lot of places. Remember, he said before the race he wanted to finish in the top 5. That's not the way to set about it. This is the way for setting about a Porsche 1-2, but Zonta doesn't like it. Zonta in third place is really putting the pressure on Uwe Altsson now. McNish easing away, but Altsson's going to have to keep the door shut if he's going to keep Zonta behind. He leaves the door wide open. Zonta just comes down the inside under braking and easily takes second place from Uwe Altsson. The silver Mercedes of Ricardo Zonta up into second place, still McNish leading, Zonta in second place, Altsson in third place, Brabham in the silver Paynos, there it is fourth. That's the leading quartet. One of the blue V12 Mercedes in 5th place, which is the car of Bouchou. And now we ride with Ricardo Zonta. He can see McNish, the leader, ahead. That's his prey. That's the car he's got to close on. And the car that this silver Mercedes, the one with yellow mirrors, which is Bernd Schneider, the car that he has got to close on is Bouchou's blue Mercedes, and he's doing it very, very fast. I think we're going to see Schneider in 5th place any moment. Now, Ricardo Zonta is going to find Alan McNish a slightly tougher nut to crack than he did Uwe Altsson. There are the lap times, and you can see that Zonta is going half a second a lap quicker than McNish. That's how he's been able to wind the Porsche in. The Mercedes going quicker than the Porsche. But to close on Alan McNish through the swoops and twists of Donington is one thing. To get past him is quite another. Headlights blazing from both the leading pair. And remember, there is history between these two cars. They collided in Oschersleben. They collided in the last round in Japan at Suzuka. Alan McNish was absolutely furious, made a formal complaint about Zonta's driving, and he now can see Zonta once more in his mirrors, getting very close as the brakes go on for the Melbourne hairpin. But unlike Altsson, McNish takes a tight line on the power then, 600 horsepower or more, propelling them steeply uphill, and then once more keeping well over to the inside of the road. McNish keeps the door shut as they go on to the start-finish straight now. They're already up among the slower GT2 cars to lap, and Zonta is tucked in behind as they go down to Redgate. This might be a chance, but McNish takes a firm, close line, gets back on the power very quickly, rockets away from the Mercedes. The speeds rise as they go steeply downhill through the sweeps of the Craner curves. To the right, then to the left, this wonderful Donington circuit, and Zonta still creeping close as they go through the fast back section of the curve on towards Starkey's Bridge. Now we've got a new third man. The Panos is up to third. Altzen has lost another place. We've now got Porsche first, Mercedes second, and we've got Panos third. There's Bernd Schneider, who himself has made up a further place, and he is now on the tail of Altzen. Altzen slipping back down the field. Panos third, Altzen fourth, Schneider fifth. David Brabham doing a great job in that Panos, and he can see in his mirrors the battle that goes on. He knows that Schneider's going to creep closer once he gets past Altzen. Altzen swings left into the S's, right out of the S's and down the hill. This is where Altzen is vulnerable. Schneider's going to have a go, I am sure. Yes, he is. Headlights blazing, and once again, Altzen doesn't seem to defend his place at all. He just lets Schneider go by. So Schneider up to fourth, and this is Zonta having a real go as they come round Goddard's. This is the battle for the lead. Alan McNish still magnificently leading for Porsche on his home ground, but Ricardo Zonta is pushing down to Redgate. The puffs of flame from the exhausts as McNish comes down the gearbox, accelerates hard out of Redgate corner. There's a slower car to lap. Now Alan McNish is so good with these back markers. He's sneaking through as they go into Redgate, and yes, the back marker briefly delays Ricardo Zonta. He's wonderful in traffic, is Alan McNish. That was how he managed to get ahead of Zonta a couple of weeks ago in Japan, and Zonta knows that it's going to be through this traffic that he's got to hold on to McNish if he's not to lose the initiative. Passing yet another of the little 911 GT2 cars, and a 10-second penalty. The caption tells the story. McNish has got a penalty. We're getting the information through. Alan McNish, 10-second penalty, and the judges think that he jumped the stars. This is the GT2 battle. We'll hear more about McNish in a minute, but look at this GT2 battle. The two Vipers all over Koreuser's Marcos, but Koreuser still has that GT2 lead. It's Wendlinger who's attacking in second place, Wendlinger in the second place, Beretta in the third. The two Vipers have had contact between each other, but this Marcos is being driven defensively, I think it's fair to say, very quick in a straight line. The big 8-litre Vipers are much heavier than the little Marcos. Look how he stays right on the right-hand side of the road for Redgate. Just takes a slower line, but a tighter line, and the Vipers can't find a way around. I would have thought that it's only a matter of time before both Wendlinger and Beretta find a way by if they don't drive into each other as they do so. And Schneider's on the tail of the Panos. It's a battle for third place now. Schneider goes through on the inside, or does he? Brabham doesn't leave him very much room, but Schneider gets through. Schneider, who was 8th at the end of the first lap, is now up to third place. But Alan McNish, our leader, is going to have to serve this penalty, and McNish is coming into the pits. Alan McNish peels off to come into the pit lane. He's going to be held stationary. The marshal starts his stopwatch. He's going to wait there for 10 seconds. Another marshal in front of him with a stop sign, and when his 10 seconds are served, he'll be back in the race. And the 10 seconds is served. Away he goes. Two black rubber lines as a no doubt furious Alan McNish powers down the pit lane, rejoins just behind the green Porsche of Armin Hahne. That means he's in 9th place, and he's behind all the GT1 cars except for Jeff Lee's recovering after that spin in the McLaren. Zonta, therefore, is our leader. We ride with him. He's coming up in amongst that GT2 battle, still led by the Marcos, and Marcos not giving Zonta very much room as they go down through Craner curves, and Schneider is right there too. The two Mercedes all over this GT2 battle as Schneider passes Wendlinger and now goes past the Marcos. Mercedes are first and second. The Marcos still leads the GT2 battle ahead of those two white and blue Chrysler Vipers, and poor old Alan McNish, after that magnificent run at the front of the field, is now all the way back in 9th place. But he's served his penalty, and now he's driving his heart out. He's moving his way back up through the field. We look at the two leading Mercedes, red mirrors of Zonta, leading yellow mirrors of Schneider, who is in second place, working their way past the little 911 GT2 Porsches. The Panos still going well in third place, and there's Yannick Dalmas getting his helmet on, Alan McNish's co-driver is getting ready in the pits. So there is the number 7 car, and he's on the tail already of Bouchou. This is a battle for 4th place. McNish has recovered to 5th. The blue Mercedes is 4th, and Christophe Bouchou is under pressure from McNish. McNish will come in soon. He's going to peel into the pit lane now. He does so. Yannick Dalmas is waiting. This is a routine stop now for Alan McNish, who brings the number 7 Porsche down the pit lane. Dalmas waiting for him. We're going to see all the routine stops starting now with the refueling, the changing of tyres. Dalmas gets the door open, and out comes McNish with his seat. Little slight figure of the Scotsman walking away from the car. It's been a very hard hour for him, and meanwhile Bernd Schneider has taken the lead. Bernd Schneider's got the lead. We didn't see it, we were looking at McNish in the pits, but Schneider, yellow mirrors, car number 1, has gone ahead of red mirrors, car number 2, that's Ricardo Zonta, and Bernd Schneider, the team leader, the reigning FIA GT champion, has put himself at the head of the field. Remember, he lost all that time on the first corner of the first lap of this race, and out of the pits now comes Yannick Dalmas in the Alan McNish Porsche, rejoining. Dalmas about to go into his stint. Bouchou's Mercedes, the blue V12 car, is in. They jack it up. Oh, and the nut falling off the end of the wrench for the mechanic there. That's going to lose them just a few valuable seconds as they get the new rear wheels on. In GT racing, you're not allowed to refuel and change tyres at the same time. You have to finish the refueling and then start changing the tyres. The pit stops are very much longer than we're used to seeing in Formula 1, but Bouchou gets his new rubber, he's got his new fuel, and Mailander in that car now. Bernd Mailander has taken over from Christophe Bouchou, who's out of the pits. The Paynos is in, the 3rd placed Paynos, and David Brabham already out of that car. Eric Bernard is strapping himself in. A great first stint by David Brabham, incidentally. One of the Vipers is in. That is Olivier Beretta, running 3rd in GT1 at the moment. New tyres for the Paynos, the rear tyres being changed there. You can see the airline plugged into the car that operates the air jacks, and in fact he just gets the airline pulled out of the car before Eric Bernard rockets away back into the race. That's Marcel Thiemann's Mercedes. He's handing over to Jean-Marc Gounon, and we've got both the leading Mercedes, both the silver cars, coming simultaneously into the pits. There's Ricardo Zonta getting out of the red mirrored car, and taking over will be Klaus Ludwig. Ludwig clambers aboard number 2. Behind them, clambering into number 1, is the lanky Australian Mark Webber, with Bernd Schneider helping him with his safety belts. They've got the tyres done on number 2. He's going to be out first. He's stalled it. Ludwig has stalled the car. Can he restart it? He does restart it. Ludwig gets away, an extra little delay, but still, Ludwig in the number 2 car comes out of the pits just across the bows of Mark Webber in the number 1 car. So Ludwig is the leader, Webber now in 2nd place. Yannick Dalmas is 3rd in the Alan McNish Porsche. And here's that controversial start again. The lights go green, McNish is instantly up with the 2 Mercedes, but let's hear now from Alan himself.
Alan, what's your view of what happened at the start?
Well, I did get a good start, there's no question. The green light came on and we had very good response, and I managed to leap into the front at the first corner. The FIA, who are the governing body, judged that that was actually a little bit too quick. They said that I overtook a Mercedes prior to the start-finish line, which personally I don't think was correct. I saw the green lights and I went and got a good run at them, but that's a judgment. It's too late. We had a 10-second stop-go penalty, and we've got to abide by it.
Bearing in mind how difficult it is to get these Porsches out in front, it must be tremendously frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating because it was going very well. The car was good and we were leading a race, and that was the intention of today, to lead a race and try and win one. But, you know, we've got a bit of a fight back. We're up to 4th now, and we're going to try and keep on going further up than that.
In fact, they're back up to 3rd place now. There is Yannick Dalmas running ahead of the Paynos. Eric Bernard at the wheel. They're 4th now, with Jörg Muller 5th in the Porsche that was started by Uwe Altzen. But still Mercedes 1 and 2. Paynos in 4th place behind the Dalmas McNish Porsche. The green Zakspeed Porsches are 5th and 6th. The 2 blue V12 Person Mercedes are 7th and 8th. There is the Michael Bartels Porsche running in 5th place. And there Yannick Dalmas still running just ahead of the Paynos in their battle for 3rd. But there's still a long way to go. We'll be right back. Welcome back to round 7 of the FIA GT Championship here at Donington, and the Paynos, the 4th place Paynos, has stopped out on the circuit. Eric Bernard out of the car, and the marshals now wheeling it away, but Mercedes still running, first and second. The Bernd Schneider Mark Webber car, with Mark Webber at the wheel, has now taken the lead from Klaus Ludwig in the number 2 car, and in comes Bernd Mailander in the V12, the blue V12 person car. Mailander already out of the car, and Christophe Bouchou manhandling his seat back in so that he can take over to finish the race. And there's our leader. Mark Webber brings in the number 1 car, Bernd Schneider undoing his belts for him, eager to get back into the car and back out onto the circuit. In fact, Schneider almost going over the top of Webber in his anxiety to get into that car. He's in the cockpit now, Webber helping him with his seat belts as they refuel the car, and there's a battery by that Bouchou Mailander car. They've obviously got a problem there. Yes, they're going to take off that elegantly painted rear engine cover with its dramatic depiction of what's underneath, painted on the car. And meanwhile, Klaus Ludwig still on the circuit. There he is in number 2. Klaus Ludwig has the lead, with Bernd Schneider just having left the pits and rejoining the circuit, and the McLaren of Jeff Lees in. Thomas Boucher, the German owner of that car, having done his stint, Lees will take it out again, and we watch Schneider working his way through the traffic, getting instantly back into the groove and working his way through the slower cars as in comes Ludwig now. Ludwig in the pits, Ludwig out of the car, and Ricardo Zonta back in as they refuel the car, and meanwhile that will have put Bernd Schneider back in the lead. They shut the door, Zonta getting ready to go away, off goes Ricardo Zonta back into the race. Klaus Ludwig's work is done, his last race in England incidentally, because Ludwig has announced his retirement, a long career in sports car racing. He's going to retire at the end of this year. There then is Bernd Schneider back in front, and looking very confident and very quick as he goes sweeping through the Craner curves. One of the Chrysler Vipers in, that's Pedro Lamy handing back to Olivier Beretta, and there is Ricardo Zonta, car number 2 in second place, and some way back now. But if they can hold this 1-2 positioning, Mercedes will end this afternoon the manufacturers' champions in 1998 GT1, even if the Drivers' Championship remains to be resolved. In comes Andreas Schelt in the green Zakspeed Porsche. They're in 6th place. Still Schneider first, Zonta second. Alan McNish, incidentally, back in the 3rd placed Porsche for the final stint. Uwe Altzen, his teammate, 4th. And the blue Mercedes of Gunnar Thiemann is in 5th place. The Bouchou Mailander car that was having that delay, they've replaced the starter motor and they've rejoined. But of course the Paynos hasn't rejoined, and Dave Beckett's down in the pits with Eric Bernard. Perhaps we can hear the story of that car's retirement.
Eric, all we saw was your car broken down. What happened?
I had some problem with the gearbox since 3 or 4 laps before I broke something. I think it's probably a prop shot is broken. It's very, very strange because there are smelly a lot of oil, burn oil, and but for me it's a prop shot, but I'm not really sure.
Well, with 3 tight corners on this circuit and in this long race, the transmissions take a real beating. There is Uwe Altzen's car back in the pits being refueled. Altzen back in that car, incidentally, just taken over from Jörg Müller. That's the number 8 Porsche. A good middle stint from Jörg Müller, incidentally, the former Formula 3000 champion. He seems to be more comfortable in this car than does Uwe Altzen, but the team have decided that it's Altzen who does 2 stints in it. It's Jörg Müller who only does 1 as far as today's race is concerned. Bernd Schneider, always the team leader, although supported so well by the young Australian Mark Webber, the newcomer to the Mercedes-Benz team this year. And now that the Mercedes team seem to be on top in the Constructors' Championship, that is, if nothing happens between now and the end of the race to spoil this apparent 1-2 for Mercedes, then the focus inside the Mercedes team will switch from simply ensuring that Mercedes dominate the FIA GT Championship to allowing their top drivers, Schneider, Webber, Zonta and Ludwig, to fight over the Drivers' Championship. Now that Viper has got front bodywork damage. That's the Justin Bell Carl Wendlinger Viper, just being lapped by the leader there. They're running in second place in GT2 behind their teammates Beretta and Lamy. They have both pushed the Marcos down to third place in GT2, but damage on the front of that car, and into the pits now comes the leader coming into the pits. This is a surprise, a late stop this late in the race. Does it mean a problem? They're refueling it, they're putting in some extra fuel. It's a last minute splash and dash for the leader Bernd Schneider. If he gets out now, he's going to retain the lead. He gets away, and he's still going to hold on to the lead. Bernd Schneider still in the lead, Ludwig on the left, Webber on the right, watching the race. And we understand that that damage to the Viper was caused when Wendlinger hit this car, losing there its left rear wheel. That's Bruno Eichmann's GT2 Porsche, and his race is very clearly run. Zonta having a splash and dash too, just the same for the second Mercedes, but so dominating is their lead that they're both able to indulge in the insurance policy. Very slow away, Zonta. Took him a while to get underway. There's Norbert Haug, the Mercedes competitions boss. Oh, somebody's going to be in trouble for leaving something in the pit lane. And Ricardo Zonta safely back after his stop. He was very slow out of the pits, which concerned us, but there he is, lapping Jeff Lees, who's in the 7th placed McLaren. He's 4 laps down, is Jeff Lees. But these Mercedes now have got no real opposition. Alan McNish and Yannick Dalmas are in 3rd place in the Porsche. They're a fair way back, and the Mercedes have just got to reel out the race. There's that 2nd placed Viper of Carl Wendlinger and Justin Bell. And news of a penalty for that car. Wendlinger hit the back of that Porsche, tore one of its rear wheels off ultimately. 60 seconds they're going to penalise that car. And we're in the closing stages of the race. It's in 2nd place in GT2. But if it's got to come in and stop for 60 seconds in the pits, that's going to drop it well off, and it's going to make this battle the battle now for 2nd place in the class, because the Marcos is still going strong, but Alfred Hager in the Conrad Porsche is now right on his tail, and Christian Van did the 2nd stint in that car. Harold Becker now at the wheel of the Marcos. They're about to be lapped by Alan McNish, who's winding them in, but they're pretty involved in their own battle. I hope they're going to see McNish coming up behind them, and they're not going to get him into trouble in these closing stages of the race. In fact, McNish alongside Hager now, and picking his way past the Marcos of Harold Becker, goes on his way, but the Marcos will now be in 2nd place once they deliver that 60-second penalty to the unfortunate Carl Wendlinger. Splendid 3rd place for Alan McNish. Bear in mind he had that tremendous delay, 10 seconds stationary in the pits, but the additional delay that you get from coming in and going out. He rejoined in 9th place. He's fought his way back with the help of his co-driver Yannick Dalmas to 3rd, and Alfred Hager has a little look at the inside as they come down into the Melbourne hairpin, and Hager is on the inside. They go up the hill once more. The Marcos has a little bit more steam as they go up the hill towards the left-hander of Goddard's, and the Marcos trying to shut the Porsche out. Becker has the inside line. Hager is trying to go all the way around the outside, but Becker keeps that place. This is an absolutely terrific battle. Look, this is what happened last time round. The Porsche was on the inside. There was definitely contact between those two, and Hager almost lost control of the car sideways in a great slide. Now he's trying to go the other side, and there's absolutely nothing between these two. The Porsche now goes through. The Porsche is ahead. A great lunge as they go out of Redgate down into the Craner curves, and now Hager has got what will be 2nd place in that class once Wendlinger serves his penalty, which he is doing now. Wendlinger now in the pits for 1 whole minute, and we watch on his final lap Bernd Schneider driving like the champion he is, sweeping through the downhill section, the Craner curves, through the old hairpin, under Starkey's Bridge and on towards McLean's. This magnificent lightweight V8 Silver Arrow Mercedes-Benz, and look, he's just set the fastest lap of the race, this late in the race, just to show that even though he's under no pressure at all, he can really turn in a quick time round Donington just for the hell of it, just for the joy of it. Bernd Schneider, one of the great sports car drivers of the decade. He also had a brief period in Formula One, let's forget, but now he's in the S's, he's out of the S's, he's got the steep downhill run down towards the Melbourne hairpin, and that Melbourne hairpin will then take him back up the hill. He's in the Melbourne hairpin now, hard on the brakes, the slowest corner of the circuit, back on the power, up through the gearbox of the CLK Mercedes. He's just got the final left-hander at Goddard's, which stands between him and what will be the 7th victory in 7 starts for the Mercedes team. The Marcos Porsche battle goes on ahead of him, and he takes the checkered flag. Celebration in the Mercedes-Benz pit. Schneider and Webber win from Zonta and Ludwig, and Alan McNish salvages some glory for Porsche in 3rd place.
Here's confirmation then, yet another 1-2 for the Works CLKs. Alan McNish and Yannick Daumas once again 3rd. We did have some excitement 2 corners from the flag in GT2. The Porsche of Conrad and Hager handing 2nd place to the British-built Marcos. But poor old Justin Bell, he finished 4th after that late stop-go. So in GT1s this time, it's Bernd Schneider leading the Silver Arrows home. This 1-2 means it will be a Mercedes driver that takes the honours in the Drivers' Championship. No wonder they're already getting the beers in. Which of these top 4 men it is remains to be seen, but there'll be no team orders from now on with 3 races to go. As for the manufacturer's title, well, they've been there, done that, and already printed the t-shirts. Norbert, well done, champions again.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. The team did a great job, and performance was just amazing. Really impressive job they did. I think the CLK LM, well, we did have a problem in Le Mans. Car was, whenever it was racing, it was on pole position. And I think that just shows that the AMG guys are doing a fantastic job on it.
Against that opposition, not much McNish could do. He knows he gave it his best shot.
It's the Manufacturers' Championship sorted out. Before the race, we knew it'd be difficult to actually have a chance of that because of the way the point situation was, basically because of the first 2 races where we had problems. But after the start and the 10-second penalty, I think 3rd position was the best we could have hoped for, and that's what we got. So really, we ended up in the best possible position, but ideally it would have been nice if we didn't have the 10-second penalty to see where we would have came then.
Norbert says that the drivers are allowed to fight it out among themselves. Should be interesting the final few races.
That's right. I think now we can go to the other races without any pressure for the manufacturer, because this is the main thing to win. And now it's in between us, and you could see today already it was a big battle between Zonta and myself in the beginning, and then again with Ludwig and Webber.
That's it then from Donington. It's been very much a year for Mercedes, but it will certainly still be interesting to see how that Zonta-Schneider battle pans out over the next few races. We'll have round 8 from Austria for you on our next programme, as well as some Formula 3000 action.